Hi, this is a video walkthrough for week 11, question 1 on the CSM worksheet. So question 1 goes over generic types, and it goes through an example on a generic linked list. So we can read the question and get started. So a normal generic linked list contains objects of only one type. We can imagine a generic linked list where entries alternate between two types. So for example, like the example that they give us is 5 cat, 10 dog. This alternates between integers and strings. And then we can look at the code that they give us for this alt list. We see that this alt list has an item and a next, and they also give us code that shows us how to instantiate a new alt list. So you'll notice that there are generic types here, X and Y. And when you instantiate a new list, you can fill in what those types will be. So for example, in this list, it would be an integer and string. And then since it's alternating the next values, you'll switch it from integer and string to string and integer. So that's what a generic linked list would look like. So we can read the question and then look at an example to better understand it. So, and then in this question, we can assume that the indexing begins at 0, and for this example, the even indexed items are integers and the odd indexed items are strings. So for the actual question, we want to write an instance method called pair swapped for the alt list class that returns a copy of the original list with adjacent pairs swapped. So each item should only be swapped once, and this method should be non-destructive. So it should not modify the original alt list instance, and assume that the list has an even non-zero length. So they also give us an example. So for example, calling pair swapped from the list 5 cat, 10 dog should return the list cat, 5 dog, 10. And then one thing to note, they did say that this method should be non-destructive. So that tells us that we want to create a new list and then return that one so that we don't modify anything in the original list. So this is our list. Right now it's 5 cat, 10 dog, and then the list that we want to return would be cat, 5 dog, 10. So we can kind of go over how we would maybe want to approach getting to the final list and returning that. So if we create a new list, and we can first create a new list with the value of the item in this dot next dot item. So not 5, but we would want cat to be here, and then we can use this dot item to get the current item, which would be 5, and then we can set this to null, not this null, but over here to null. And then as we're going through and creating our new list that we want to return, we want to have some sort of check maybe that to see if we have any more elements in our original list. So let's say we were able to check and we found that there are more elements. So we would continue, we would continue and then swap the next two pairs. So we would get dog, oops, and 10, and then we would at this point check if there's more elements in our list. And after we do that, we at this point, we can see that there's no more elements. And the last step would be to return our return list. So let's take a look at how we would implement this in code. So we, inside of our public class alt list, we want to, oh, I think oh no, that's right. We want to create a new method, or they give us the new method, and we want it to return the alt list. So the first step that we can do is create the new list that we want to return. So to do that, we can use the generic parameter types and instantiate new alt list. And remember, we want to swap the pairs. So so the item of our return list would be next item, and then our next for the return list would be a new alt list that has the value from our current this item. And remember, we want to switch the value of the parameters or from y next to xy, because now this new list has an int and then a string, whereas over here it starts with the string and then int. So item and then no. Okay, and then remember, so right now we have we've created a list up until here. So the next step would be to check if there's any more elements in our list. So in order to do that, we can have a check, we can have an if statement, and we can check if, so this next, if that is equal to null, then if that is equal to null, then we know that we reached the end of the list. So if it's not null, then we know we still have more elements in the list to go through and add to our alt list. So in order to do that, we can have a recursive call. So our recursive call will set our current next next value to the recursive call. So what we can do is set our next and then call pair swapped on it. And then after we do that, we'll have in our new recursive call, we'll have return be creating the this list. So it will take the item, it will take the string from over here, and then the integer from over here. And then if there were more elements in the list, we would keep going through the recursive call. But in our case, we only go through, we only have like one recursive call afterwards. And then afterwards, we would want to, our last step would be to return our new list that we've created. Yeah. Okay, so that was a video walkthrough for question 1 on the CSM week 11 worksheet.